Good morning, Cincinnati, and welcome into another episode of the Bearcat Brunch, brought to you as always by our wonderful partners, Live Healthy, Hydrate. They are locally owned and operated by emergency medicine certified physicians, nurse practitioners, and registered nurses with 120 plus years of combined experience in critical care medicine, utilizing our knowledge and expertise to maximize our clients' health, safety, and comfort. With 3 locations in the Cincinnati area, LHH offers treatment for weekend recovery, game day preparation for hydration, and rapid recovery. As a support medication in conjunction with healthy lifestyle and exercise, some people are experiencing significant weight loss with regular semaglutide treatments. To help maximize your weight loss and obtain your health and wellness goals, the initial consultation with our medical staff includes a complimentary consultation with a local nutritionist. Visit livehealthyhydrate.com and check the weight loss feature for more information on semaglutide and nutritional support offered by LHH. They offer the popular Myers cocktail as well as the premium proprietary Crown Jewel cocktail, along with customized treatments such as the Glow Up, For the Love of Pregnancy, and Feeling Slender. Add-on injections such as B12, Toradol, Zofran, Magnesium, Zinc, and many more are also available. Most IV treatments are $99.99, as well as some custom and premium treatments at $129.99. They do offer gift cards, and make sure to check them out on Facebook, Instagram, X, and at livehealthyhydrate.com. And with that, on a rainy, dreary, ugly Sunday Cincinnati morning, we are back to, recap the Bearcats' 31-24 defeat at home to West Virginia, dropping them to 5-4 and 3-3 in the Big 12. Good morning, Jeff. As we customarily do, what is your takeaway from I would say, highly frustrating day after the first, 6, 7, 8 minutes or so of Bearcats football yesterday?
I think last week we talked about it. The week of the over the bye, and even the week before that, that we needed to see a little bit of that, like the early season Brendan Sorsby, and there were some pretty obvious crucial plays that you say were either made or not made from that position. At this point of the season, I mean, you could say he's a sophomore quarterback. Don't have whatever. He's got enough starts under his belt. He's got enough, and I get he's trying to make some plays. That's just stuff you can't do. You can't throw little flips up in the air. That turn into, well, 2 of them turn into immediate touchdowns, and then the fumble. I mean, that's just not necessarily a bad decision. That was just poor, very poor ball security. You can't run. Obviously, you can't run with the ball one-handed out that far. I think it came down to that, and then also, and I could be wrong. This could just be me piling on during the day and being upset about it. But I felt like our special teams were just like, I felt like the coverage on the punts, a lot of times I feel like the first guy missed horribly, and we were giving up some pretty significant return yards. I think it came back, I think they averaged like 15 return yards or something like that on each punt, but it just seemed like several of them were not very good. The starting field position wasn't what you would want out of those.
I don't think you're piling on at all, and it kind of leads into my stat that I noticed. I'm not the only one. Believe me, it was pretty glaring during the game. But starting field position, West Virginia averaged out to starting their drives at their own 41-yard line, and we averaged out to starting drives on our own 21-yard line. You had 2 defensive touchdowns, and then you have a fumble where they only need to go. I think that one was 37 yards and held them to a field goal. Then you had drives starting at their 46, their 49, because, and inside our territory, again, because of bad punt coverage. I mean, yes, Mason Fletcher lit the dude up 25 yards downfield.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, that got everybody excited. And I'm like, well, yeah, great. They're still starting another drive inside our 30-something or inside our 40-something. And regardless if the defense slows them down, it's still going to give another very long field. And you have a penalty on one that start, on not a very big return, but then that gives them an extra 15 yards. Right after you score a touchdown, the ensuing kickoff is returned to the 50-yard line. As you're trying to come back in this game. And, I don't like, I'm not sure there needs to be like some big examination into Brendan Sorsby's game. He had a very bad game. Like, there's not really, he would tell you that. Anybody else would, like, the why isn't really necessary in that regard. It's like, guys have really bad games. Sometimes it matters, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, he knows he can't attempt those two throws. He just got a little bit out of his mind, I guess, and attempted the two throws. I mean, it's bad, it's silly, you can't have it, but you can't take, and this is a little bit of my frustration in the first one is on 4th and 1. Like, I did not like the play call. I don't know why we try to get fancy and deceptive in these types of situations sometimes, like just run the ball. But then don't make a bad play worse. Like,
yeah, don't compound it.
It's still early in the game, so you can't say your defense is playing well. But like, and I know it's hard to sit here now and say, "Oh, just take the sack. Don't try to make a play." Like, he's made so many plays this year, including the touchdown run, where he's extended plays and done some pretty remarkable stuff. So I don't want to be hypocritical and say, don't try to make a play, but there are examples and instances where it is just best to like not make a bad play, a terrible play. I think that was one of those times because when you look at the defense as a whole, 5 3-and-outs forced. We went into it I put a little tweet up, under 250 yards allowed, 3 for 11 on 3rd down, 2 sacks and an interception. Like, I think they did everything you could have possibly asked them to do. Yes, they did give up over 100 yards and 3 completions. So I guess, when the backs were certainly against the walls at times, they did give up some plays. But I mean, shit, you give up 17 points. And 3 of those are because they started the drive on your 37. 7 of them was a drive that started on your 41. It's like you really only give up 17 points to an offense. You should win the game. Like, yeah. This defense gives up 17 points to a Big 12 team. You should win the game.
This is very true.
Offense and special teams were just huge, huge letdowns.
Well, yeah, okay. So I guess I wasn't jumping off the deep end as a casual fan there, because it did seem that way, that like and I don't know if it was like a combination of like, did the punts not have the hang time on them? I mean, I thought he was hitting them far, like that didn't seem off. I don't know if maybe they weren't as high as normal, but the missed tackles on special teams, and I mean there were a couple on defense here and there. Defense did struggle again in a couple situations of like, you got them backed up on 3rd and long, or 3rd and medium, and then you give up. I think one was like on 3rd and 6. I think they gave up a 50-yard pass. They gave up like a 30 or 40.
38-yarder down their sideline was on like 3rd and 11 or 3rd and 11.
After you have them at 3rd and 6. I'm looking right here. Had them at 3rd and 6. They false start. Yeah. You move them back to 3rd and 11. you we I talked about it, last week is a thing. Like, you cannot let those things happen again, um, in kind of crucial situations where on third and long or third and middle, like the ball just, it's like they lose a receiver, um, and they're not spectacularly difficult passes that you're forcing these quarterbacks to make. You're not getting all the pressure in on them, and you're just letting them, kind of pitch and catch down the sideline, and that's not gonna, go the way that you want it to go. And certainly, like I said, you don't have to tell everybody that's in here. Like, everybody's kind of smart enough to know that when you hand them 17 points, essentially, the stats and everything else can look really pretty, but when the score one is not the way you want it to be.
No, I mean, like, yes, the defense gave up a few things, but like, this is a very middle of the road crew. Like, that's not surprising to me, but that makes it even more glaring that, like, I mean, this is where their offense scored their 17 points. This is where their drives were. 31-yard drive for a field goal, 41-yard drive for a touchdown, and their long drive of the day was a 6-play, 51-yard touchdown drive. They had 0 drives over 4 minutes. They had 3 drives under 2 minutes. Because their field position, I mean, was so good all day that they either went 3 and out or scored because they were already in scoring range, essentially.
I did also see another stat that in 21 games under Scott Satterfield, the Bearcats have 0 defensive or special teams touchdowns.
They don't create, outside of fumbles, they don't create turnovers. They have 4 interceptions now. But I'm really not, this is not a defense conversation. Like,
no.
A defense that you knew isn't, like, they're not world beaters, so they're going to give up plays here and there. Like, they played, like I said, I mean, like, I can't
They played well enough to win yesterday. Absolutely.
For sure. You gave up 17 points.
Like,
Coach Dan asks an interesting question of where has the deep pass to Hendo and Burkhalter gone? And that is a great question, especially playing a team that was 133rd in the country going into yesterday's game in EPA per play allowed through the air. There are 134 Division I football teams, ladies and gentlemen. And we had an extremely difficult time. It felt like till maybe the end, really moving the ball through the air. In review and whatnot, maybe they were playing some different coverages because they did have a new defensive coordinator, but I don't know how much, from their standpoint was truly going to change. I mean, how you call the game might change, but it's not like he played a new scheme.
Right.
You're not installing the new scheme week 11.
Well, they said no, right, and they said on the broadcast, I guess leading up, kind of the decision at West Virginia to replace the defensive coordinator wasn't necessarily based on like lack of trust or faith in the scheme. It was more, I guess the way that the previous defensive coordinator was unable to kind of hide things, or I guess Neil Brown said, like, you can't give the other team the answers to the test, before you hand it out.
Yeah. That to me that says like we were too static.
Yep.
We were just lining up and maybe being too repetitive. So sure, did they give some different looks? Did they move some guys around pre-snap? I mean, I would have to watch all of West Virginia to know
right exactly
what was different this week versus the previous 10 games or whatever it is.
But even like you say stuff like that, like you could say that kind of stuff, but it's not like, I mean, to me, those turnovers weren't created because Sorsby was like confused as to
No,
what was
no,
going on. It was
not
they
at
were,
all.
and like you said, like I think he would say it too. Like he just made some bad decisions, and then like you threw like the first one, he throws that pick, and the three Bearcats standing around him are just like kind of like they didn't realize that the ball had been intercepted.
Yeah,
And the guy, you let anybody get kind of 10 yards of steam, it's going to be pretty difficult to run a guy down. Like, and then
I do
obviously
think
the last one.
defenses. I do think defenses are playing some more shell, maybe dropping guys a little bit more. And I thought on the first couple drives they did a good job of checking to runs. Now the runs weren't getting them big yards, but Corey was getting 5, 6, 7 yards when there was 5 or 6 defenders kind of in the box, so to speak. But it's a team doesn't go from being that bad in pass defense to just all of a sudden. I mean, Kansas State, like teams they've played recently who are running teams, have abandoned the run to just throw and throw and throw. And after the first 2 drives, when we go touchdown interception, you have 3-play, 12 yards fumble, 3-play, 3 yards punt, 3-play, 9 yards punt, 3-play, 9-yard punt, 5-play, 41-yard end of half. So, like, those 4 drives, obviously the fumble, but, like, you had 23 plays for 124 yards before the interception return for a touchdown on the first 2 drives. And then after that, you went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 drives. And you don't even have like 80 or 90 yards on those 6 drives before you get the 1-play touchdown to Pryor.
I mean, it was just overall. I mean, it was just kind of baffling to see, because like even in some of the losses, like you're like, this team could really, like we've talked about moving your expectations from the beginning of the year, where everybody was like, all right, like let's just get to 6 wins. So like you were seeing some things where like maybe we might get like 7, maybe even steal an 8th win this year. Like that could happen. And I think that wasn't too far outside the realm of possibility. And you're kind of even after the loss 2 weeks ago, you see the remaining schedule. We talked about it, where it was like, okay, the game to win to do that is this week. Like, get your 6th win, and now your feet aren't held to the fire against, I mean, who knows really with Iowa State, but you've got Iowa State, and then who do we have? TCU's at the end of the season, and then Kansas State after that. Well, flipped. And we said very specifically last week that you don't want to leave this to where you have to win that last game to be bowl eligible, and it's starting to look like that might be the case.
Well, yeah. I mean, you had, the concerning thing to me is that a month and a half ago, we were looking at a very solid offensive performance against Houston, and then, I know he threw the interception against Texas Tech that hurt, but like a pretty good offensive performance given that your running backs had gone down and Hendo had gone down. And so, you lose a close one on the road at Texas Tech, but you're still like, okay, this offense, I mean, I said it, this offense makes me feel good that if the defense isn't holding up their end of the deal, and it is a shootout type game, that this offense is capable of keeping them in those games, and then you see, you might win, you might not, but giving yourself a chance. Now, after Texas Tech, they haven't scored more than 24 points in a game. And the defense has given up 13, 14, and 17 points yesterday. And out of those 4 games that they've played, then they gave up 34 to Colorado. Like, who's playing exceptional football right now and is maybe probably the best team in the conference. I would put them above BYU, I think.
Yeah.
But so now I don't know. I can't say that about the offense anymore, and it's almost like the defense is now the one that is giving them the opportunities, and they're not cashing it in.
They did kind of all of the things opposite of what we said as far as like the keys to continuing and making sure that they have a better path throughout the rest of the season. Obviously, like, you're gonna see some people that are out there saying like, fire this guy, get rid of that guy, whatever. I didn't see a whole lot of that yet.
Human nature when you're upset about a performance like that. I mean, they're starting a backup quarterback who completed a couple nice balls, but like did nothing spectacular. Their leading rusher,
new defensive coordinator,
their leading rusher. You held, in check. I mean, you gave up 250 yards. You held their whole offense in check. I mean, it's college football. You gave up 250 yards. You should win every damn game if you do that. Every single one.
You double them up. You almost go for 300 yards passing. You go for 436 total yards. They were 0 for 1 on 4th down, which obviously that's not characteristic of this team. They're usually fairly good on 4th down. We had that discussion 2 weeks ago. Rush for 157 yards by all accounts until you get to the bottom down there with the turnovers. I mean, time of possession, you have the ball 10 minutes longer. Obviously, that's going to happen when you have a couple. They score a couple defensive touchdowns, but still, like, if you put all those stats in front of me, obviously covered up the turnover stuff and the points, I would have thought that UC won the game. Fortunately, that's not how it works.
Nope, not at all.
They've got
too many miscues on the offense and special teams. Too much of a loss in the yardage of the game is, I don't care who you're playing. You just give another team that many chances to start drives where they started them, and it felt like, especially in the second, in that middle part of the game and into the second half. Let me try to find the drive chart again, but it's like, I mean, you start. I mean, here's our drive start places in the middle second quarter into the fourth quarter. Our own 15, our own 15, our own 7, our own 20, our own 27, our own 20, our own 29, our own 6, our own 25.
That makes it harder on yourself.
The best field position we had starting at that point was our own 29-yard line. And then
know what we didn't. You know what we didn't do, Dave?
What didn't we do?
We didn't give up a score or botch anything at the end of the half.
At the end of the first half.
Yeah. We punted the ball away, which that sucks. And let's see, where did they start with that one? I mean, we punted the ball and they got it on their own 46. And we didn't, they went 3 and out. And they moved the ball 2 yards. So, but then, Mays gets it and returns it for a loss of 2 yards. That was the only punt return for the Bearcats of the 5 punts that West Virginia had. We had 1 return, and it was for -2 yards.
Yeah.
I think so. The replay, when I was watching it, it looked pretty well that it was at least a yard backwards.
Yeah.
On that pass. I mean, it was, if it wasn't, and they kept kind of reiterating, like, if it wasn't if they didn't rule it a backwards pass, it was gonna probably be a fumble.
Yeah, at best, a right down the line lateral that
Yeah,
would have been a fumble either way.
just
But
just sucked. I mean, I did have confidence that we were gonna. I was like, oh yeah, here we go. Like we got it. We've got a chance here to move the get down there. Like you're not looking at just going down to tie. You go down and win this game. And
right. I don't know, man.
unfortunately, does the other thing. So I don't know. Entertain this a little bit.
Okay.
We go down. 14 plays, 64 yards to kick a field goal. Right
At the end,
yeah. So you make.
are you gonna say what I'm gonna say, which is they should have kicked the field goal on first down
Okay.
to leave
So
53 seconds in case you do recover the onside fumble.
right. So, but here's the other thing. So they have. I don't even. What was that penalty? They had a penalty somewhere in there. I don't know if it's holding it, whatever it was. They have a penalty, right? There's 53. There's actually 53 seconds left when they had the penalty.
Yeah.
On first and goal, right? False start.
Mhm.
Davey Henderson, false
Yeah.
start. You've got 3 timeouts, right? You get the 10-second runoff takes you to 43 seconds. Okay? At that point, I think you kick the field goal, you take the 10-second runoff, you kick the field goal, because then if you don't recover the onside kick, does that not leave you with enough time that you can at least try to call 3 timeouts and stuff them on 3 runs? And am I wrong?
I don't think you're wrong. I don't know the timeout situation.
We had 3 timeouts because we could have kicked the field goal, and we would have had to eat the 10-second runoff, which would have put us at 43. I think you should have kicked the field goal right off the rip there anyway, just with the time situation going on. But yeah. I didn't like the fact that we gave up the timeout there. Obviously, like I'm not a professional coach. It just seemed to me that you would want to try your best to keep all 3 timeouts in case you don't get that onside kick. Then you can, give yourself maybe that. I mean, still it's a sliver, but a sliver.
Yeah, I'm always for, like, if you need 10 points or if you need 2 scores, like, get what you can get as quickly as you can get it.
Right, because you need
regardless of if it's the touchdown or the field goal. Like, I felt like you're at the 11-yard line. You threw 3 incomplete passes. They obviously didn't take up a ton of time, but if you can't make a field goal from the 11-yard line, then it doesn't really matter. So just try and kick the field goal and give yourself, whether it's 10, 15, 20 more seconds. I mean, maybe you take 1 play to the end zone, but after that, like, I feel like it's kind of, you're in a condensed area. Yep. They're not going to be rushing. You're going to have 8 guys playing some sort of zone coverage in the end zone. Like, it's going to be hard to find an open guy in that type of a situation. So, yeah, I mean, your better bet is maybe likely kicking the field goal and then trying for the onside kick, because if you recover the onside kick, you have a little bit more space to work with where you can get, like, you could potentially get someone in space like you got prior on the touchdown. Yeah. You're not gonna get a situation like that in the red zone. So I mean, it's it's semantics. It's it's not a deciding thing. No. But it's
what it comes down to is like we can probably stop beating this horse, but like you can't give them those points. Like the game shouldn't have come down to that. Trying to put this crazy puzzle together at the end to have a sliver of hope. Just shouldn't. I mean, it just shouldn't have. It should have been where you're trying to just salt the game away, keep handing the ball off, and get at come out of there in your bowling shoes. And unfortunately, that's not what happened. And oh yeah, well, so I didn't like I had it on mute, like I had
Yeah.
the thing on mute during that. Like I didn't see what happened with the pass interference reversal.
I mean, I don't know how you reverse that. The guy is not, well, he's one, not playing the ball at all. And he's got essentially in front of Hendo with his arms, he made contact with him initially, then had his arms kind of wrapped around him. I have no idea how you overturn that call.
It's like like one ref telling another ref, like, no, you didn't see
You
that.
didn't see that. Like, I saw it sitting in
Right, I threw the
122 seat, whatever row I'm in. Like, it seemed pretty clear. But I mean, again,
yeah,
this is
you don't
not
want to become,
news. Like we talked about, every conference, pro, college, doesn't seem to matter. They seem to be struggling to find capable officials. So, and I don't like this. I've never really liked the, like, you got to play better than the officials. Like, they're on the field. They're part of the game. They should be held. If I'm going to hold my coaches and my players to a standard of playing, then they need to be held to a standard as well. It doesn't seem like that is always the case. I mean, sometimes you can't play better than incompetency. That is a comment more for Thursday night than yesterday, because that's a missed call, whatever. I don't think it was the right call, but it's a bang bang play, pass interference, what have you. But
well, I'm okay with missing a pass interference, like when the
right, but when
flag
it's
doesn't get
called, and
thrown.
then you say that it's
Yeah,
not that.
you go over and you're like, no, we're actually gonna pick this flag up. And like, I mean, there's some interesting calls yesterday as a whole across college football in a few situations. But
Yeah, but I mean, just kind of putting a bow on this one. It's frustrating. I mean, I talked about it Wednesday night. I said it was the biggest game of this tenure due to what you're coming off of, what you have in front of you, what a win would mean, what a loss would mean, and you come out and you do what you want to do. You did what you wanted to see coming out of the bye week.
mm-hmm.
You stop them, you go score, you stop them again, you get the ball down to a fourth, and I'm totally 100% going for that there. Like, didn't even cross my mind to kick a field goal. So, no issues there. Don't love the play call, but I mean, like I said, you can't make a bad play a killer play.
Yeah.
And from that point on, it was a disaster on offense and on special teams. I mean, the special teams one. I mean, the Gunners, I think, were just getting blocked.
Well, there was a few.
Because it felt like the first guy down there to make the tackle was the long snapper.
Well, there were on a couple of them. It was like their return man and our first guy down were like ships passing in the night. I mean, it was just like, shoo, like you gotta. Like,
he just caught it and took off to whatever the wide side of the field was.
And it was like, you got to like kind of break down here, at least like get in front of him. Like it was like whoever it was just running a 40-yard dash. And they were just like,
I didn't love the call when he fumbled and we recovered it either. I thought our guy was past him, but maybe he bumped him and I just couldn't tell. But those are the plays. But again, I mean, you had that play too. I totally forgot about that one earlier. You had a face mask on Sabor on one punt return that gave him an extra 15 yards, and you had kick catch interference on.
Yeah.
So he had the long return that he got lit up on, and then he had two other returns that they got 15 yards on because of penalties, and we then throw in a 50-yard kickoff return.
Well, I mean, yeah. Fletcher there, with after he makes that big hit, he turns around and that West Virginia guy's coming at him. He lowered his helmet and just and headbutts the dude, and I was like, oh god, like you're gonna get him for targeting and get him. Like, his brother's gonna punt. But
But I
it
mean,
kind of is what it is. They've got now. Here's the thing: is like you gotta either steal a game or hope that I mean, TCU's been playing pretty decent, better than they were,
and they're gonna they're gonna you have some very challenging things ahead of you because yes, Iowa State, their pass defense looked absolutely atrocious yesterday against Kansas. I watched a good chunk of that game, but they have probably they have the top combo in the conference in receivers, and Jalen Noel and Jaden Higgins. I mean, they're both pushing 1,000 yards already. Like they're going to throw it. Kansas State with Avery Johnson, they're going to throw it and run it. And then TCU teams that are typically the running kind outside of TCU, but that are going to throw the football. So, maybe the weather will help them in that regard, especially the last game at home. But you can't put yourself in a situation where you're now going on the road to two really tough places to play and then leaving it all on the final home game to become bowl eligible, because the alternative is
you certainly don't want to end the season on a 5-game losing streak.
No, I would advise against it.
Yeah, right. If we want things to be, if we want a positive light around here, well, you just can't happen. So I think again, like we've said, you got to revise. Sometimes you got to revise your expectations, and I think we revise it back to, hey, let's just get that 6 win somewhere in here, and then win a bowl.
Yeah,
which is kind of unfortunate because I thought we could maybe do a little bit more, and maybe we still can. Maybe they just kind of sets them on the path to win out the last 3 games. That would be great. We'll have to see.
Yeah, that would be something. But I think
it'd be something.
It'd be something. I think that's about all on that one, right?
Yeah,
you good?
I don't know. A whole lot more on that.
All right. Well, that recap of the Bearcats' 31-24 loss was brought to you by Royal Links Golf Tours. Have you always wanted to golf at St. Andrews? Have you ever had that perfect pint of Guinness in Ireland? Well, now you can, thanks to Royal Links Golf Tours. They are a golf tour specialist offering unforgettable golf experiences to Scotland, England, Ireland, and Wales. Their custom itineraries are more than golf trips. They are immersive cultural and country experiences that will surprise and delight you both on and off the course. Royal Links Golf Tours is owned by former Bearcat quarterback Hayden Moore and his partner, UC alum Jeff Bartholomew. So if you like to play St. Andrews or grab that perfect pint, please reach out to them at their website, royallinksgolftours.com, or call them at 770-331-1525. Scores from around the country, games of note. What grabbed your attention?
Well,
first and foremost,
Ole Miss going in there and like I said, they didn't go in there. Georgia came to them, but that's a pretty impressive win. I guess Carson Beck probably didn't have a great game. I saw someone that said he's getting benched.
He's gone from like a month and a half ago, like really quite good, to now like not good at all.
20 for 31, 186 yards, and an interception, no touchdowns.
That's his 12th interception in 6 games.
Yeah, that's not what you want out of, obviously I think they still probably make the playoff.
Well, they play the Vols next week, which
the
Vols have a question at quarterback now because apparently Nico went out of the game at halftime with nothing happening to him, and no one knows why yet. It was the strangest thing ever.
I skipped over Ohio State Purdue because obviously that's not telling
Purdue is one of the 3 worst teams in.
Yeah, that is not telling
football.
of anything.
No.
Oregon 39-18 over Maryland. I mean,
nothing.
They just keep
nothing to take from that.
Yeah, they just keep rolling on there. Miami with a surprising L to Georgia Tech.
Is it really though? Is it really
Mm,
surprising? I mean, we're talking about
their
Miami and
defense hasn't
Mario
been like
Cristobal here. Like they needed a wild reversal to beat Virginia Tech. They needed like a 30-point fourth quarter comeback to beat Cal. Like
but
they've been flirting with this for quite some time.
I mean that leaves
Ponies, baby.
the storied ACC program of SMU atop the conference right now, which is interesting. Obviously, Texas whooped up on Florida after Florida announced that Napier is coming back.
Yeah, there's a lot more to that than one, he's got like a $26 million buyout.
Oh yeah.
Two, they don't currently have a school president. Like I think this is much more of like we just are not in a position
This
to
is just
make
it's just convenient, like, but they can dress it up a little bit and maybe make it seem like, we got this. I think the rest of the SEC is probably happy that they're not trying to move on to somebody else to build the program back up. So
yeah, Bama had a nice showing at LSU.
yeah, that one is pretty impressive. The whole stuff, like all the stuff that they were doing on game day beforehand was pretty funny too, because like they had Saban out there talking to Brian Kelly, like last year Jalen Milroe basically ran all over you guys. What do you think you're gonna have to do to stop it? It was awesome. I know he enjoyed every last second of it. The Boise State Nevada game, Ashton Genty back on track, 34 carries, 209 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Yeah. I mean, we're really in a situation now where like you do need to watch Boise and them potentially jumping whoever the Big 12 and I guess maybe ACC too now, because will they stay ahead of if SMU loses, will they stay if Boise stays ahead of them and potentially jumps BYU? Who knows?
I mean, I think if BYU, I know we talked about it last week, but like I think if BYU stays undefeated, gets to the Big 12 championship game, Colorado now makes it also to the way they're playing. Like, I think both of those teams probably make the playoff.
Good.
I think that's probably the only line to a 2-bid Big 12.
Yeah, I mean they both have easier slates coming home. I think BYU at Arizona State. That could be one to watch. And they do play Kansas this week. So I mean Kansas out of nowhere offensively was on one.
Yeah, the BYU
especially
win at SMU SMU is
that win is looking better and better for them. Hoosier hysteria continues to roll.
Right,
setting up a wild Big Ten. I mean, elimination conference championship type game. I mean,
who would have thought that Ohio State Indiana would be a bigger game late in the season than Ohio State Michigan?
Way bigger.
like
I mean, the winner essentially likely goes to the Big 10 championship game against Oregon, and the loser is a two loss, or even if Indiana loses, they're still a 1 loss. But if Ohio State loses, they're a 2-loss team that's probably not going to play in the conference championship. Still probably easily make the playoff, but I didn't want to see Indiana's offense against Michigan's defense, and they did just enough.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the most. I guess that's the first time Indiana's ever been had 10 wins.
Not surprised.
That's.
Is Florida State going to go 1-11?
Yes. Oh, that was the other thing I wanted to check.
52 to. I did not see any of this game. 52-3 to Notre Dame. They're not going 1-11 because they play Charleston Southern this week or next week.
you can't just write that off.
I can't write it off.
That team is so bad.
They are pretty bad.
And you also can't write off like the give up factor that a lot of those guys on that team probably have right now.
I didn't really realize how bad they really were. Like, listen to this. They've scored more than 20 points once this season. Do you know when that was?
The first game?
The very first game when they lost to Georgia Tech 24-21. They have not scored more than 16 points since that game.
They're bad. Like it's like a historic flip. It has to be.
It really is.
There can't have been a team that did as well as they did last year to be as bad as they are this year.
No, I don't think there's anybody that's ever gone from like we should be in the playoff to we might go 2-10.
Also, if you had taken Dave's advice at the beginning of the year and maybe had some fun little rollovers, Kent State is 0-9.
There we go, baby.
They have not. They got beat by Ohio 41-0 yesterday, which I know a lot of you have been following very closely. Let's see what else do we have.
I want to look at that now while I want to see.
So that Alabama LSU 42-13. Like LSU just, I don't know if they had anything going on. Iowa State losing to Kansas. We'll let Aaron and Chad probably dig into that. The Virginia Pitt game was very, very late in that game. There was a fourth down that Virginia was going for. I think they had like a 2-point lead at that juncture. Yeah, they had 2-point lead. Fourth down. They line up to go for it. Pitt stuffs them. Turnover on downs, you think. No, says the referee crew. They come in and say, we weren't ready yet. Our guys weren't in position.
God.
We are going to replay the down. So that went over really well with Pittsburgh because then Virginia converted and then went down and kicked a field goal and then ended up winning the game by 5. So that was one of the official blunders that you had going on. I know during the Colorado Texas Tech game, not necessarily an official blunder, but they started throwing bottles and things on the field after they throw tortillas.
Travis Hunter put one in his pants.
I did not see that.
Yeah,
but I did see like at one point Shiloh got like hit in the side of the head with a water bottle and he like picked it back up and like flipped it back up into the stands. Like the Texas Tech had to like get on the they were literally threatening. The announcers made a point of this. They threatened to kick out entire sections if things kept getting thrown on the field. Like, can you imagine that? They just start kicking them out, like whole sections of like. I assume they were probably going to start with maybe the student section and just launch them because they were
right.
It was getting that's just dangerous. Like when they talked to Dion about it afterwards, he's like, you got to realize I played baseball and football. I've had batteries thrown at me. I've had beer bottles. Like he said, they throw everything at me but my mama. That's what he said. But Colorado is playing very good football. Their defense, that's really been kind of the story as to why they've started to win. Because obviously, like their offense, they get backed up. Heck, they had a play yesterday. They got backed up like 15 yards or something on the thing, and they threw a screen pass to Travis Hunter, and he goes 40 yards for a touchdown. Like It's just we talked about that being a thing. Clemson over Virginia Tech, Washington State over Utah State, big. Missouri over Oklahoma. As was pointed out over here. Storied SEC program, Oklahoma took another L.
Yeah, they're having a rough go of it with Brett Venables at the helm.
Yeah, and then you got Army rolling along at 9-0. I think Navy kind of stumbled and had 2 losses in a row, so all the fun storylines with that kind of fizzled out. Then what was it was brought up over here, and it was one of the
Yeah.
things I was going to talk about, and it is Big 12, and I don't care. Sorry, Chad and Aaron. Uh, the Utah AD.
Oh yeah.
He said he put it perfectly over here. He cut a heel promo after literally like they showed him. He's like screaming in the officials' faces on the field, and
The
then he gets
AD
in there and he's
was
like, "Oh yeah," he was like in an official's face after the game,
nice.
like hollering at him. There was because it was
Was he saying like, don't you know we're Utah? We're supposed to be dominating this
he
conference.
he said when he like on the I don't know, have you seen the post game press conference?
No, I
Those
mean I've seen him like I have not clicked it on it to listen to
he
what
was
he
like,
said.
we were really excited to join the Big 12, and now it's now this is what we're getting. Like,
Oh yeah,
I mean,
because Pac-12 officiating was so good.
yeah, he just laid into and like he was like this was a game that our boys went out there and they won that game, and it was flat stolen from them. Like they did, like I mean, he went crazy, and then he got up and then who's their coach? Is it Whittingham? Is that their coach?
Kyle
Yeah.
Whittingham.
So like he gets up there and he just kind of like says it is what it is, kind of whatever. But when he stood up, like hammer punched the seat next to him on the like as he like walked out. I mean, it was the call that they were upset about. Like I guess the main one they were upset about was it's a first fourth. It's like fourth and it might have just been 4th and 10, but they were backed up. The play starts. Utah is like chasing the quarterback basically out of the back of the end zone. He just like flips the ball on the ground. But what happened was BYU had called a timeout, and nobody heard it because it was so loud. And the official that when they were calling a timeout, he went to blow his whistle, like dropped his whistle, so he couldn't like. But the timeout had been called in time, but nobody knew. So like they had them. It appeared that they were going to have them stop, but they were like, no, there's a timeout. So then they run the next play, and they get in and they sack him in the end zone. But they call a defensive holding on like the outside on a guy, and it was like he made contact with the receiver at like 1 yard, but they said that it was like over, like that he like turned him or whatever. And all of the videos are from like an all 22 angle from somebody's like 1935 Nokia phone. So like it's like super grainy. Like you can't see anything. So like it was like back-to-back plays like that, and they still had to drive down the field and kick a field goal to win, but like they had them stopped. Like that would have been the end of the game. So they were not happy about it. They were they've made it known. I assume probably a lot of that is going to go. There's going to be a hefty fine.
I'm sure there will.
On that one, I know that there was also, speaking of fines, the Ole Miss game. I guess they rushed the field like 16 seconds left, and they had to put people back, and then they rushed it again. And so Lane Kiffin was like, I guess we might get fined twice on that one. And he was like, I think that money goes to Georgia because we got LSU's money.
They just donate to each other.
Right, exactly. You have anything else across the landscape?
I'm looking at these. No, I don't think so.
I mean, there was a lot, obviously, like a lot of losses in the top 25. This year seems to be as chaotic and crazy as any other year, and with the playoff being 12 teams, it's kind of fun because like we said I think it was last week we said like there are teams that go pretty far back that still have like this outside like puncher's chance depending on how some things develop and go on. Like they could make the playoff, and
for sure,
and it's making for some fun Saturdays. They put apparently they put the goalpost from it into the president's pool at Ole Miss.
Like it.
So that's good. NFL wise, with the former guys like not like Brian Cook had 6 tackles. Travis Kelce had 100 yards on 14 catches. Sauce Gardner had a pass defense and 5 tackles. Alec Pierce had 41 yards. Desmond Ritter was 11 for 16 for 74 yards and a touchdown. Nothing else really like crazy sticks out.
Yeah, it looks like the game time for next week was announced at 8 o'clock on Fox, and then the early projection, we'll see if it holds up, is the Kansas State game could potentially be 4 o'clock on Fox. So Bearcats could be getting a couple big boy Fox games next couple weeks, and then we'll see if we get a nip at night.
I was gonna say a nip at night to end the season.
To end the season.
A la when they ended Rutgers
Yeah.
undefeated season all those years ago. A lot of people might not even be old enough to remember that.
Nope.
I was there though.
But that's about all I got. I think
Yeah.
It'll be an interesting week. This team has done a good job of rebounding after some rough losses, but now it's two losses in a row, sandwiched around an off week. So 3 games left. Let's see how we finish out. Thanks to everybody that joined us to talk about the loss. We always appreciate everybody that jumps in the comments. Please like, subscribe, rate, all those things that the podsters ask. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks to Aaron. Thanks to Royal Links Golf Tours. Thanks to Live Healthy, Hydrate. And we will be back next week. Same time, 9:30. Talk about the Bearcats trip to Iowa State. So everybody have a great Sunday, and we'll see you then.